and welcome to the Leadership Coaching course. Your facilitator today will be Sean Clark, the owner and lead coach for Atlanta Challenge. Sean is certified as a leadership coach and as a teamwork coach, utilizing the stakeholder-centered coaching process. He is also a certified life coach through Tony Robbins method and was a trainer for Tony Robbins. Sean is also a certified whole brain practitioner with extra training on applying thinking styles to teamwork and leadership practices. Sean has been involved with training and professional development since 1989. He started Atlanta Challenge 16 years ago and has worked with over 3,000 teams during that time. Please follow along using your PDF guide. It includes all of the worksheets from this session. Please pause the video and complete the exercises as you go. And please, share your thoughts with us. We'd love to hear more about your goals and your progress. Before we begin, here are a few tips for getting the most out of this session. Your pre-planning workbook is structured into 4 sections. Section 1 is all about what kind of leader you want to be. Section 2 helps you define what success looks like for you. Section 3 gives you keys on how to create more opportunity. And Section 4 has additional leadership reflection questions. You can complete the exercises in any way that works for you, including printing out the entire workbook and working through it at your own pace, printing out only the 8 action step pages and following along with the video, saving paper and typing your answers directly onto the PDF, or going big and grabbing a journal or whiteboard to draw out your big ideas. We'll be diving deeper into how to implement your leadership plan and your team development plan in your upcoming workshops and mastermind calls.
Hi, this is Sean Clark, and I'm going to be your coach on this leadership journey. You are part of this experience because your organization believes in you and thinks you are worth the investment. And so do I. I am incredibly excited that we'll be on this adventure together. So often we think that leadership is about making other people do things, but that only works in the short term and only produces minimal results. In this program, we'll explore the art and science of identifying what inspires you at the deepest level and how to find that drive in others. Then we'll use those insights to create a plan for taking your team and your career to the next level. Real leadership only happens when you connect your passion to your work. The secret to creating results on your team can only be found inside of you, and I assure you that those answers are there. This program will help you identify what kind of leader you want to be, how to be that kind of leader, and how to create an ongoing success system on your team. In this pre-work session, we are going to begin creating your leadership plan by getting clear on what you want as a leader. This will set us up to do game-changing work later on. Are you guys ready? Let's roll. So let's begin right here. What kind of leader do you really want to be? Why did you step up to be a leader in the first place? Some folks do it for the money, some folks do it for the prestige, some folks want the added security of that position, some folks just want to try something new or be in a position to make something special happen. What I found is one of the common denominators of great leaders is they really are committed to making a difference in people's lives, for their own life, for their family, for the people on their team, for their organization, and ultimately for the people that their organization touches. It's important that you're connected to what that is for you, because that's what's going to give you the energy to follow through on the process and ultimately make the difference that you want to make. We found that giving people big piles of homework and to-do lists and 27 laws and 54 methods and all that just burns people out before they even get started. For this to really work, you've got to show up fully engaged with all your drive and all your passion and be able to follow through on this every day and then help your team have that same drive and passion as well. So where do we start in this process? We've got an incredibly powerful exercise that we're going to lead you through step by step to help give you that foundation you need to be the leader that you really want to be. So our first project is the ideal leader exercise. And I think it's very, very important that you have notes handy for this because you're going to want to jot these things down and capture these things for later. Many people think that they don't have what it takes to truly make a difference. Every day, thousands of regular people are doing extraordinary things because they have connected with something inside themselves that allows them to inspire others. So let's talk about what that is for you. What I'd like you to do first is think of a great leader that you've experienced. This can be someone that you've studied, maybe it's somebody that you worked for, it can be somebody that everybody knew, it could be someone that only a few people knew, but someone that generated some emotion for you, a leader that you felt really moved you. Take a couple minutes and think about who that is. Now that you've thought about who that leader is, I want you to jot down as many things as you can think of that made that person a great leader. What skills, what attributes, what style, what interactions. Think of every ingredient you can that made that person a great leader. Really fill up the page. Take a few minutes and dive in deep with this. Step 3 is my favorite step. Now that you have that list of all these great traits of a leader that you truly admire, I want you to go back over that list and circle the things on that list that you also possess. What are the traits and styles and attributes of your ideal leader that you also have within yourself? Now, don't be modest. Don't say, well, that's not me. I can't measure up like that. Really think about the traits that you possess, even if it's only a little bit, even if it's just at the very beginning embers. But what on that list also applies to you? Take a few minutes, dig deep, and find as many things as you can that are also on your list. Did you do your homework? All right, good. Now we can move on. Now that you have a list of ingredients that describes your attributes, we can put this process to work for you. I want you to describe a compelling picture of how you want to see yourself and be seen as a leader. Think about how you want to interact with people. How do you want people to respond to you? What kind of things do you and your team or your organization accomplish? What kind of impact do you and your team make inside your organization and outside your organization? Take a few minutes and really think about this. What would this look like when you're at the level that you want to be at? Are you still with me? Good. Here's step 5, and this is part of how we put this into action for you. I want you to use the grid below. This will look familiar from you from some of the whole brain work that we've talked about. Using the grid below, I want you to think of what kind of leader you want to be to make sure you've got a good, well-rounded vision. And you can copy some of your notes from the previous step into this. First, what's the mission? What's the big why for you as a leader? What's the real impact that you want to make? Next, what's the outcome? What specific goal or result or outcome do you want to achieve as a leader? What's the real impact? Next, what standards will you live up to? How will you hold yourself accountable for this? What's the right way to get it done, not just the result? And lastly, what values are you committed to living up to? How are you committed to treating people? And how do you expect other people to treat you? Take a few minutes and think that through. Come up with things that really inspire you and that you're willing to live up to. All right, are you hanging in there? Are you staying with me? All right, here's the last step in the ideal leader exercise. Giving you a lot of great ideas, a lot of great thoughts to think about. You've got your leadership compass of all the different ways that you want to show up as a leader, but that can be a lot to keep front of mind on a day-to-day basis. So the next step in this process is I want you to think about what would be one word that would describe what kind of leader you want to be. I don't want to oversimplify it, but you kind of want that code word, if you will, that call to arms, that single word that kind of reminds you of everything you've written so far in this process, so that when push comes to shove or when the chips are down or everyone's hair is on fire, you've got that one word that reminds you what kind of leader you want to be and brings you back to all those things you decided. Take a couple of minutes, jot down a bunch of different words, find something that really rings true for you. And for the left brain folks in my group who really want to understand the science behind us, I'd like to fill you in a little bit on this. What we've been talking about is what's known as the endowment effect. That when your brain focuses on something and really thinks about it and pictures itself living it, it can't really tell the difference between the imagining and the reality. It will start to expect this. The part of your brain that does this is what's called the reticular activating system, RAS for short. You probably notice this if you start shopping for a car or for a watch or some kind of thing like that, suddenly you see it everywhere. Not just because the ads are following you online, but because your brain is looking out for it. Once you say something's important, your brain starts trying to find materials and resources and situations where it can make that happen. This is basically the science side of the law of attraction. Your brain will find what you tell it is is important. The ideal leader exercise gives your brain a very clear target to move towards so you can be the kind of leader you want to be. And an extra life hack with this, when you set that example for your team, when you create that picture for your team to move towards, they start automatically moving in that direction and automatically start to no longer do the things that don't match that picture. And that's where this exercise really pays off for you. Many of the folks that we've worked with think that the way to get better and the way to make their team better is to just knuckle down and grind through it. They think that discipline is the source of all this. Discipline is very important, but I would say even more important than that is focus. It's about knowing what result you want to create and making good choices on where to invest your energy in order to create those results. There are two primary reasons why it's important to get clear on your definition of success. First, you'll make decisions faster. You'll know who belongs on your team, what goals will get you where you want to be, what actions are worth the effort, who's worth talking to, who's worth listening to, what resources will work and support you where you want to go. The second benefit, though, is you'll nurture the motivation you need to stay focused on the things that matter. When you're really clear on what you want and where you want to go, your brain will be like a pit bull and latch onto those things that are important, and you'll be less distractible by the things going on around you. The next project is, how do you connect your career plan to your life plan? How do you make sure this isn't just about work and that this really is going to help fill out your entire life? The first step is to begin thinking about the different dimensions of your life. How will being a better leader improve things for you in every area of your life? Here's an exercise that will help with that. In your packet, you have a worksheet that has these 8 categories of your life. Take a couple minutes and think about each one of those categories and how being a better leader could help you in that area. Being a better leader will certainly help your career. Having a better career could certainly help your finances. How can it help your health? Would it be reducing stress or things like that? How would it help your lifestyle? Would it give you more freedom or opportunity to travel or to have things that you want to have? Could it improve your relationship? Generally, when a leader works on how they interact with people at work, it has positive benefits when they get back home for their relationship and also for their family and friends. When we know our career is going well, it helps us have more enjoyment in other areas of our life, and fun is more fun. And for some folks, it even makes life more fulfilling because they know they're making a bigger difference and having more impact. Take a few minutes and come up with a couple of ways that being a better leader will impact each of these categories of your life. So step 2 in this process is, now that you've got a big idea of how this is going to benefit your life in the major categories of your life, now we want to give it a bunch of individual ingredients that your brain can really sink its teeth into and get excited about. To help you in this process, in your support materials, you have a bucket list PDF, has 150 different bucket list ideas. What I'd like you to do is go through that list, come up with a bunch of things in there that you like, add things to the list as you see fit, and then add them into your workbook on your own bucket list page. While you're thinking of your bucket list, don't filter, don't think this is right or this is wrong or this is okay or that's not okay. Just keep asking yourself really good questions like, what do I want to do? What do I want to experience? What do I want to learn? What do I want to have? What do I want to travel? What impact do I want to have? Jot down as many things as you can think of and try to think of some for each category of your life. Don't let everything just be in finance or just be in travel and fun. Have some big ideas and little ideas for each category of your life and jot those down in your pre-work workbook. The next step in this process is to take a few things off of your big goals list and off of your bucket list and start moving them onto your calendar. Pick a few things that you want to have happen this year so your brain and your spirit stay engaged in this process, and give yourself some reward along the way. On the worksheet in your workbook, jot down a few goals for each one of these categories. But remember, you don't have to have a goal in every single category every year. Pick a few that are high payoff, things that give you a lot of energy and would really light a spark for you to keep you in the game. And then, of course, step 4 is breaking your annual goals down into smaller quarterly, weekly, even daily goals to make sure that this is going to happen for you. Here's a great little extra tool that can help you out with this whole process. Review your goals each week to make sure that you're taking meaningful action steps towards that goal each week. And maybe even take a few minutes each morning to review your primary goals and action steps so your brain knows why you're doing what you're doing that day. Here's a neat little acronym that can help you out with that. First, you want to be thinking about what's the result you're going for in the short term and why is that result important to you? That's what's going to give you the energy for it. Then, what's your method? What's your action plan? What are the major action steps you're going to take to make progress on that this week and this day? And then, whose support do you need? Who needs to back you up? And maybe who do you need to give support to so you can make these things happen? A handy way to remember this is the little Tony Robbins hack, is using the acronym RPMs. So R for result, P for purpose, M for method, and then S for support. You can use this for planning a vacation. You can use this for deciding where to go to lunch. You can use this for planning a meeting. What's the result we're after? Why is that result important? What's the method we're going to follow to make sure that happens? And how do we support people to make sure that it really works for us? Success obviously doesn't happen in a vacuum. For you to move up, other people have to want you to move up. So the question I want you to ask yourself now, and this is a critically important question, is who is holding the keys to your career? Who needs to be a believer in you? Who are your key stakeholders? I'd like you to take a couple minutes, sit down with your workbook, and think of who are the people that have to be rooting for your success. Obviously, your boss has to be rooting for your success. Your colleagues, the folks that interact with you and depend on your work, need to be rooting for you and believe in you. Your direct reports have to believe in you and be willing to give you good reviews. Maybe even customers or vendors or other folks outside your organization have to be rooting for you. And of course, even outside from that, who are friends or family that need to be a believer in you and be backing you up so that you can follow through in this process. Take a few minutes and jot down a list of all the people that you need to have on your side making this process work for you. Once you've made a list of who those folks are, take a minute and think about what do they need to see in you? What do they need to see you doing? How do they need to see you behaving? What results do they need to see you producing in order to become your raving fan and really back you up on your career path? Here's another real powerful leadership tool to help you move forward in your career. And this is going to be what we're working on as we work through the rest of the course and through the mastermind calls to support the course. What I want you to do is take a minute and think about each of these four areas. First, what do you have to focus on for being a more effective leader? In order for you to get promoted, in order to move up, you're going to have to be better at the leadership role. Take a minute and think about what those things are that you feel you need to focus on at the moment. And as we go through the course, we'll help you fine tune those things even more. Next thing is having an even more successful team. What has to happen for your team to be more successful, and what can you do to support them in getting there? Because the more successful your team is, the better your reputation is. Next ingredient is being recognized for your work, building your brand. How can you start building your brand, making sure other people know that you're getting better and getting results? And again, we're going to give you a step-by-step process for doing this, but I want you to just start thinking about how you're going to make that happen and who you need to make it happen with. And the last one, of course, building bench strength so that someone's available to fill your shoes. We see so many leaders who are great leaders. They're ready to move up. People are ready to move them up. But the problem is there's no one there to step in and fill their shoes. They've become too valuable to move out of that position because there's no one there to fill their shoes. So one thing I want you to be thinking about as you go through this process is there somebody that you can start to groom, somebody that you can start to mentor so that they are ready to take your position when you're ready to move up, so you're not creating a vacuum, and that kind of turbocharges your ability to boost your career. Start thinking about who you can start grooming to fill your shoes. Here's a fun bonus project for you if you want to do a little bit of reflective thinking. Generally, if we take a look backwards and look at what has worked and what hasn't worked, it can be very powerful information for us. If we're paying attention to things that way, we can see things that others might miss. Following questions would be very helpful in helping you think further about your career and your life and how to level those things up. So the first question I want you to think about is, what is one thing you did that worked well for your team this year? Really think about things that you did. Maybe it was a talk you gave, or an event you took your team to, or a goal you set, or standard you set that really helped your team raise their game this year. Think about what that was, what really made it work, and how you can replicate that again next year. Secondly, I want you to think about, was there anything you did this year that did not produce the results you anticipated? Was there a goal you set that maybe was a bridge too far and it didn't happen? Or maybe you set up a plan but you didn't follow through on it. Maybe you set up some kind of rewards program and no one really bought into it. What is something that you did last year that didn't really produce the results that you want? And what were some of the factors that made it not work out? Third thing I want you to think about is, where do you need to spend more time to build your team or to build your brand? What would it be beneficial for you to focus more time on that maybe has gotten away from you? And number four, maybe one of the most powerful ones of all, where do you need to spend less time? Are there things that you're putting time and energy into that you just don't need to be there? Are there things that you're maybe micromanaging, or things that you're still pursuing or measuring that just don't matter anymore? Where can you spend less time so you can free up your plate to focus on more important things? And lastly, what is one lesson you learned that you want to remember moving forward? What's one maybe positive thing that you want to make sure you replicate? Or maybe what's one negative lesson learned that you want to make sure that you don't duplicate? What's the most important lesson you've learned in the last year that you want to really remember moving forward? Congratulations, you did it. You got through the pre-work packet. It was a lot of heavy lifting, and I appreciate you sticking through it. This is going to give you a great foundation to move through the rest of the program. Here's some highlights of what's coming up. First thing we're going to do is really dive into what is your thinking style and how that generates your leadership style. And whatever that combination is fantastic. We just want to make sure we know what your strengths are so you can play to them, take advantage of them, but also have the ability to be flexible as situations require. The second step is going to be identifying any hidden challenges or maybe bad habits or blind spots you've picked up over time that could be hurting your leadership and could be hurting your reputation, and have a very solid process for moving those things out. Third step is going to be creating a solid foundation for your team's long-term success so they're continually producing greater results and you get the rewards of having the reputation as a leader of that team. And then the fourth thing will be the coaching process, where you are the coach for your team so they are continually getting better, producing greater results, and becoming more autonomous so that you can free up your time to work on next level things and not be babysitting the team on a regular basis. Look forward to working with you soon. And please, if you have any questions, get in touch with us. We're here to support you.